All right, welcome ladies and gentlemen to Hox Notes Live. I'm your host, Joe Hox. I'm joined with my lovely assistants, Leah and Jenna. And today, we're going to be drawing dinosaurs! Specifically, we're going to be drawing Apatosauruses. Apatosauri. Apatosauries.
Apatosaurus.
And Apatosaurus. We don't have to do more than one if we don't know the plural. So we're going to be drawing something not unlike this. And in preparing for today's show, I did a little bit of research on Apatosauruses. The first one that was identified by modern science was in the 1850s. So it's a creature that we've known about for a long time. In my own life, so I grew up on a farm, as many of you know, and my brother was an aspiring history digger of some kind. He's now working as an archaeologist, but back then, way on the back of our farm, we had these mounds from an old rock quarry, an old mine, and we could dig through those mounds and find all sorts of cool fossils. These were all, what we found was all, they were all marine fossils, so fossils from aquatic animals.
Wait, did you find fish fossils?
No, never found fish fossils. So small marine life. Shells and plants and stuff. Never found any dinosaurs. I always wanted to, but I think having that at the back of our farm really lit a fire in my brother, and he got all excited about digging up the past. And so now he's an archaeologist working down in Alabama, of all places. My own fascination with dinosaurs has never left, and I think there's something so fun about dinosaurs because there aren't any around, and so it really tickles the imagination to think about what their coloration or patterns might have looked like, or what we don't know, or what dinosaurs we haven't discovered. There's a whole lot there to kind of unearth. And before we get started drawing, I just want to make one plug for James Gurney's Dinotopia series of books. If you haven't seen these, check them out. The Dinotopia movie is kind of, but the Dinotopia books by James Gurney, written and illustrated beautifully by James Gurney, are just this immersive world of humans living in harmony with dinosaurs. And it's just so imaginative and so fun. So check those out for sure. If I remember, I'll try to put them in some show notes or something. But today we're going to be doing an Apatosaurus. An Apatosaurus is a long-necked dinosaur discovered way back in the 1800s. And let's go to our sketchbook. Apatosauruses weren't so much tall as they were long, at least according to what I've read. So they didn't stand up like some other long-necked dinosaurs did.
That's Brachiosaurus.
Yeah, that's more of a Brachiosaurus. Apatosauruses instead were long, so they would have had a neck that comes out here and a long whip-like tail. And I was just reading this morning about how Apatosauruses, they think that they actually used their tail like a whip, not as a means of defending themselves, but more as a means of making really, really loud, cracking whip-like noises. And what I read said that the noise very likely would have been louder than a shot from a cannon, which I think is just amazing. Okay, let's draw an Apatosaurus. Apatosaurus. It's not the greatest light. Sorry about that, everybody. So the big basic shapes of our Apatosaurus, in terms of just flat shapes, we're going to start. This will be as if the Apatosaurus is walking sort of towards us. I'm going to start off with a slightly oval, a slightly tall oval, taller than it is wide. And give yourself plenty of room because we're going to be, adding a big old neck and a big old tail. All right, and later we'll shade this to be like a sphere, but for now we can just leave it kind of a tall oval shape.
Is that good size?
Looks good. All right, and then so this is as if we're looking straight on at the body. The spine of the Apatosaurus comes up as if it's coming over a hill and curving down. The middle, so the very down toward this way, and then we're going to take that line and curve it up and back like that. That probably feels super weird, but trust me on this. I think you'll like the end result. It helps to know which direction the spine is going on these sort of things. And then we're going to fill out the neck around that. So think of this as like a curving tube that slowly gets thinner as it comes in. So where it meets up against the body, it's a circle, but most of that circle is kind of hidden. We just see this curve and then slowly getting thinner, like a tree limb. Like a tree limb, it slowly gets thinner and thinner. This Apatosaurus is going to be kind of looking backward or looking off to the side. And then if you have an eraser handy, it might not hurt to just erase any part where the neck overlaps the body. And then you can kind of shade underneath that lower part of the neck because that is facing downward toward the ground. And then we're going to do something sort of similar with the tail, although the tail is way in the back. And so the tail is going far away from us and it's overlapped by these two things. And so the tail, and on an Apatosaurus, it looks often like the tail is a little bit higher than starts higher on the body than the head. So we're going to have it be really thick where it enters the body or connects with the body. And then get a nice smooth curve. And we're going to have the top of the tail do the same thing and curve back into just a simple line. So it gets thinner and thinner so it can use that tail as a whip. And you can curve that tail however you want to curve it. All right. Now I want to have my legs doing something. If they were just straight down, it might be kind of boring. So I'm going to actually kind of bend my legs. We're going to have the front legs, right up here underneath the neck, and then the back legs are going to be kind of overlapped. We're going to start with the front legs because they'll overlap everything behind it. So I'm going to make kind of a V right here. This represents folds of skin and perhaps muscles that are kind of helping hold up the neck. And this also helps us determine where the legs are going to be and how far apart the legs should be. And let's see, yeah. The front leg, this is the leg I think is the most important because it's going to be kind of bending as if the big dinosaur is striding forward. And so the top section of leg is something like this, almost like a big bean, a bean shape right there. And then it bends this way. And really, you can make another kind of bean shape. So it's really like two bean shapes. Where this one's a little bit longer, maybe. And if you don't get all the bends right, that's fine. You can always go back and fix that later or change it up. And it kind of, this leg will overlap in front of the body a little bit. I'm just adding a couple little wrinkles here where the muscle of the leg kind of forces some wrinkles in the skin right where it goes up against the neck. Maybe I overdid it a little bit. Okay, now I'm gonna leave that alone, I think, for now. I'm gonna do the other leg. The other leg is taking a lot of the weight of the Apatosaurus. And so it's gonna come down, maybe a little bit wider area where the muscle here is flexing in that lower leg. But it happens to be kind of back behind the body. And then similar to elephant feet, gets wider where it hits the ground. They need a lot of foot to support all that weight. Oh, dino fun. Okay. Maybe I'll add just like a little bit of saggy, wrinkly skin happening. And then we'll quick block in the back legs. The one that we see more of on this side, it's gonna kind of start way up here by the spine. It overlaps the tail area and then it comes down. It's very skinny because right here most of that leg bone is inside of the body. It's just pushing muscles out here. Knee, and then maybe some of that leg is kind of hidden back behind this leg. So boom, boom. Maybe add some wrinkles. Always look for joints, and you can even think about your own body where different wrinkles happen. Whenever there's a big bend in your body, like in your fingers have those wrinkles. That type of thing just really helps it helps sell the dinosaur as a more believable creature. And then maybe this far distant leg, maybe we just see a bit of it peeking out, and most of that can just kind of be in shadow. We don't have to spend too much time on that kind of thing. Okay, now the dino head. This is where you can really decide whether you're going to go more realistic or more cartoony. The Apatosaurus dinosaur has a longer head. It's not short and snub-nosed. It's kind of like, almost like a cone shape, but flat on the bottom. So I'm going to make a cone shape that kind of is curved at the end, somewhat flat on the bottom. I'm kind of shading it just to help me get that sense of 3 dimensions and help build up that flatness on the bottom. And then the mouth, it's going to think of just the tip of the mouth as like a little sad face, like a little sad smile, sad, a little frown. There it is. And then I curve up. So at the front of their mouth, it's curved like a sad face curve, but then it comes up, and that just kind of helps tell about the shape of that jaw. And then toward the top, toward the very peak, I'm going to add an eye. I'm just going to, in this case, I'm just going to make a circle and then have a circle within that circle that shows where the dino is looking. So circle and a circle inside. And I'm putting it really close to the top. And then about halfway between the eye and the tip of the nose, I'm going to add a little tiny speck that suggests like a nostril. Madison asks, do you start with reference images or are you pulling from the reference library of your mind? Good question. I personally do both. So right now I'm not looking at any reference images other than a drawing that I made earlier. But that drawing, I was looking at a model. Okay, so now I think is where it gets really fun. So now we can start to sell this creature even more, make it more believable. So we're thinking wrinkles and patterns and textures and all that. And the cool thing about dinos is that we don't know exactly what their skin looked like. So we can kind of draw references from existing animals that we know of. In this case, I'm going to have almost like a salamander pattern. If you can think of a, what is the name of that salamander? I can't remember, but they're black and yellow, and they have spots that curve.
Fire salamander?
Could be, yeah. They have spots that curve around their body, so they're mostly black, but then they have these yellow spots, and that I can use that pattern to really help show the 3 dimensions of the creature. So like I can have these kind of stripy things happening, and they're curving, the big overall shape is curving around that neck. And so, you know, somewhat random, and yet you still have that sense of curving. Now you can do whatever you want with your dinosaurs. Don't feel like this is some sort of assignment that I'm giving you, that you have to do exactly what I'm doing. If you want to just, you know, color your own sketches, or you can even make your dinosaur plaid. You know, you can do what you want with your own little dino. But I will say that this sort of thing, any sort of pattern that can kind of help imply the 3-dimensional shapes, curving around that dinosaur back, curving around the dinosaur neck. That's all going to help tell the viewer about your dinosaur, about that surface. Plus, it makes it less boring. I'm going to curve around the tail in the exact same way. You know, if I want to, I can shade in those spots, or I can color them later. Maybe there's a few, if you look at like cows and bulls and you know, elephants, they'll have these big wrinkles under their neck, big heavy loose skin down there. Maybe some of that sort of thing happening. I can build up some other little wrinkles wherever I see the skin bending. And for details like on the feet. Oh, hi welcome from Brazil. That's cool. I'm gonna add some little toenails, upside down U's, and then wee little wrinkles happening around there. And you know, I've had a lot of students ask me, how do I know what this or that looks like? And my answer often is just take your best guess, your best educated guess. Like, I have not studied the feet of Apatosauri, but I do have a general sense of what that type of animal foot looks like. If you do want to be, you know, more scientific in your approach, that's perfectly fine. And in fact, I was talking about James Gurney earlier. He is very scientific in his approach, and he'll make little models of dinosaur skeletons and dinosaur bodies that he'll work from, and he'll actually, you know, he'll read scientific paleontological papers on dinosaur anatomy, and he's very thorough. And if you're more of that direction, I think that's perfectly fine.
Dad, once you're done,
Yeah.
the sketchbook that I'm using as a hard surface has lots of the dinosaurs that I drew when I was little.
Oh, cool.
So
I think I'm gonna stop this drawing now. I really want to see what you guys come up with for dinosaurs. I'm gonna post a copy of this, maybe a shortened version of this video on YouTube and also on my Facebook page, so you guys can play back and try this out at your leisure. Let me quick get some shading in. I really want it to feel like there's light hitting that dinosaur from up above. Okay, and there is a somewhat finished dinosaur drawing. Most of the time, if I were doing this for an illustration project, I'd spend a lot more time on it, but this gives you kind of the basics. And I'm gonna move the camera. All right, so there you go, dinosaur drawing. Hold that up for the world to see. Jenna, do you want to show yours while we're waiting for Leah? There's Jenna's. Good job, Jenna. There's Leah's.
he doesn't fit on the screen.
There's Jenna's tail. Okay. Madison Boonder asks, is your style influenced by other artists? Absolutely. More than I can name in one sitting. But if you guys are really interested in this sort of thing, I would highly recommend looking up James Gurney. He's a great artist to draw influence from. But I've also been influenced a lot by an artist named Justin Gerard, who does just amazing fantasy illustrations, but they're playful. And then Bobby Chu, Robert Kondo, Dice Tsutsumi. I could keep going. There's a lot of names, and I can put those in show notes too. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We're at the half-hour mark, and so I'm going to skip the quick draw today. But I wish you all the best. From my studio to yours, have a good one. See ya.